Hey there, Marvel Legends collectors and collectettes. Yeah, this is the obtuse angle here doing a review and criticism of Hasbro's Marvel Legends Spiderman Infinite Wave Daredevil. Wow, that was a long title. Catch my breath. Alright, there's Daredevil, but before we get to Daredevil, let's take a look at what he comes with. He comes with this Build-A-Figure piece. This is for the Hobgoblin. I don't know who the new artist is, but it's more of like a modern take on the Hobgoblin, but I want to get the pieces, I'll put it together and review it, but that's it. There. And he also comes with a really nice looking pumpkin bomb. Translucency is always nice. I love translucent figures, translucent projectiles, translucent weapons. Very nice, you know. You can see a little face in there, I guess, somewhere. Yeah. There you go, you can see it in camera there. And he comes with the two worst weapons I've ever seen a Daredevil come with. It's two batons, I guess. It's really soft and cheap, and you know, I understand why Hasbro didn't use the nunchucks because it'll probably cost extra for the chain, but it does put together like this, and yeah, it's just cheap feeling. So once again, it's a negative for this figure. If you're paying $25 or whatever you may pay for this figure, like I did, it's awful, you know, just awful. Anyway, let's put that aside and let's see this Daredevil. Apologize. Daredevil must be the 30-something Bucky Cap that's been created for a figure in the past 2 or 3 years. I'm getting fed up with the Bucky Cap. Some people say it's okay. That's their opinion. My opinion is enough, Hasbro. Enough. I get it, it's a cheap figure. It's probably a cheap mold. You know, yeah, before I continue criticizing, let's just continue. It's painted really well, but there's so many things that could have been done better. Like, I don't really see much, if any, shading. I mean, I think these might be shadows, either that or it's dark red, but it's hard to tell. You know, it just doesn't look like they put any shading. It looks like they use basically two tones in the costume. So it's basically this red and this red. This is a slight metallic red. So maybe 3 reds, but they're all so close in color, and there's not much shading or variation, which is terrible. And this is what Daredevil looks like with his baton. It looks like it may actually start bending right there, where it connects. It's just, I don't describe it. It's a really cheap plastic, man. It feels almost like, boy, what does it feel like? It's really smooth. Maybe like a construction paper, high gloss construction paper rolled up. That's what it feels like, you know. It's anyway, that's him holding his accessory. And what I don't understand, they're so cheap, right? They basically just repainted the Hydra soldier. I think it's the exact same figure trigger as the Hydra soldier. And the Bucky Cap. I can't remember if the Bucky Cap had a trigger finger, but I remember Hydra had a trigger finger. If there's a slight difference, I'm not sure, you know, but basically that's it. Why are you giving a trigger finger to a guy that doesn't have a gun? Doesn't make sense. The head is nicely done, but again, not much shading anywhere, man. Nothing. It's like they took the Hydra soldier's face and just give him horns. I'm sure they put a different face sculpt there. Looks slightly different. I could be wrong. I don't have the Hydra soldier next to me to compare, but it's just not a very, you know, when you're paying for a figure, it's like you're paying for high detail sculpt and paint job, and it's missing the details and the high quality paint job. It's going to be a sought after figure, especially since the TV series is coming out. This is like, I have this figure since March 2015. The TV series is hitting Netflix sometime next month or two on 2015. So maybe that's why it's going to sell really well right now, because it's really hard for you to pick up. Anyway, let me just get to the quick articulation. I mean, like, once you see one Bucky, have you seen them all? If I continue, just the double D's, like, they're painting on, yes, Daredevil loves double D's. They're painted on, but much rather see sculpted on double D's, man. Painted on is just a cheap payout. That's what Hasbro has been doing, the cheap payout, right? I mean, look at the figure. It just bends, you know. It's like the quality of plastic is reminiscent of the baton he just has. Just really cheap plastic, man. Really cheap. It's like sometimes you can't get enough torque. Torque, I guess that's the right word to bend the figure. So you have to hold it here in hand. You have to bend. You know, with the old figures, you can just like bend and the double joints will start bending. But basically, you have to hold a piece of the double joint to start bending it, so the joint can separate from the arm to give it extra bend. You know, and that's what Hasbro has been doing. Is cheap plastic, and it's been really affecting certain ease of articulation. I mean, it's not that big of a deal, but in the grand scheme of things, you shouldn't have to deal with it. Another thing I hate is like you have to sculpt gloves. They're doing cheap repaints, man. It's like when you repaint the figure, you're making pure profit, but they're not giving fans. How do I put this? They're not giving fans their money's worth. Also, not passing on the savings. You pass on the savings. It's just cheapness by Hasbro. They don't sculpt anymore. Now they do these plastic things, which is nice, so you can remove and all stuff. But still, so many things are wrong. It's like this is too far down. This should be further up, and I'm not sure why they did it so low. I'm thinking because of the factory process. Sometimes it may stick to this up here and it can't twist. So I think they took a save route and just push it down a little bit more to compensate for any errors that may occur in the factory, to be safe. You know, that's what I think. They take the cheap payout. That's what I believe, and they gave me nothing else to really say otherwise. And this belt, I find this belt a little low, man. It's like something's off right here. It's like, you know, the belt should be more up, and it looks like it's hanging down low. But I mean, that could be interpretation there. You know, it just seems off, the belt and the abs. Something seems off there. Maybe they did it so that it can twist properly. Maybe that's it. But anyhow, let's just get straight to the articulation. At least the boot, see, this matters here. Like, the boot cut is actually really nice. It belongs in a place where the boot basically meets the costume. That's how you do a boot cut. But essentially, it's just a repainted Bucky cap, which is just a repainted Hydra soldier with basically minimal effort. And they're not passing on the savings or giving you a great figure. You're just giving something that's passable. Anyhow, the head looks up. The head looks far down. I have problems with my I have like 4 or 5 Hydra souls. One of my Hydra soldiers, it's like the head can't really stay up. It just always falls down. Probably when the mold was cooling down, probably the ball joint or the head, one of them, shrank more, or the head didn't shrink as much as it should. So it's always loose. But this figure, it's somewhat tight, but right here it feels it gets kind of loose right here. So it's something to be aware of when you're buying these type of figures from Hasbro. Anyway, it goes out that far. I would really like to see armpit joints, you know. I just do the extra miles, and it's Daredevil. You like some flexibility, a little bit more than usual characters. And he does have like some muscle definition there. You know, it's just they don't do a wash, so it doesn't really get picked up too well. Again, they do a paint job from 1990s instead of a paint job from 2004, which Toy Biz was really killing it, you know. And the elbow does bend, I guess 90 degrees. I guess maybe I could bend them, I'm not sure. I have to. Again, it's hard to bend with the plastic. Keeps like it's so cheap, right? The plastic is so cheap that it's like, look at that. See, the arm bends, but this doesn't move. This should be like a harder piece of plastic than this, or those should be hard pieces of plastic. But what can you do? The hands all rotate from here, the wrist. And like I said, this should be sculpted, but they didn't do just a straight repaint. And even poorly done, you can see like little glaring marks where the paint just gets kind of splotchy. You know, a little bit there, but that's not that big of a deal, you know. But boy, They see like they sculpted like the hand. It looks like it's sculpted in red plastic, which is nice. You know, they didn't just paint it. That's nice. This part is painted. This part is sculpted in that red color, but it matches, so that's good. And the ab crunch is like, it bends decent. You know, it's more than decent actually. It doesn't bend back that much. It's just he's standing straight up. And the waist twist, the thighs also upper thigh joint, it goes out that far. It kicks that far forward. It double jointed that knee. It doesn't bend too much this side because this is so far down, but it can basically give you what you desire there. And like I said, the boot rotates, ankle pivots. Yeah, I don't like, people love these new ankle rocker joints, but the problem is when you twist them, they kind of twist at a, how do I put this? I want to say at a V, right? And it should be more of a U. Does that make sense? Imagine a V. If V has a point, but basically, if you're trying to balance a V, imagine a V, it can't balance because the point is so pointy. But now trying to balance a U may be a little easier because a U, it goes, how do I put this? Boy, a V does this, a U does that, so it's easier to balance a U. Think of it, you know. So I mean, I understand technology is nice, but I still think there's so much that can be done on these new ankle pivots that it prevents certain poses from being done due to the fact that it doesn't pivot naturally, and two, there's no toe joints in there. So sometimes you try to bend the character down, because there's no toe joints, it doesn't give you the full articulation that a toe joint would. But Hasbro needs to invest in these things. You know what they've done? They've eliminated a lot of joints to save money, and they've not passed on the savings to the fans, which is terrible. But all in all, it's one of the better Daredevil figures. I'll put it behind the face of Daredevil personally. Although this does have better proportions than that. Let me pull them out to show you 1 second. And here they are side by side. So you see, this is like more proportion, but this one just has such a better paint job, and the sculpt is a little better. Anyway, now let me just show you the ankle pivots here, what I'm talking about. See, this has a more natural ankle pivot. You see how that works? That's more of a U, you know? So you get much better poses, right? See, it's angled flat, so you see this will always touch the ground, right? The bottom of the foot, right? So let me put this guy down. Now, when you turn these type of ankle pivots from Hasbro, see, it twists at an angle, so this never stays flat to the ground. See what I mean? It's never really flat to the ground. So it really limits posability a lot. That's what I find with these new ankle pivots. But people seem to enjoy their quote-unquote technology. I preferred this ankle pivot. Anyway, so they're both fine figures. I reviewed this one already. Get that out of the way. This figure, I would give an 8. You know, as much as I ripped it apart, it's still a pretty decent looking figure. It needs sculpt work. It needs a better accessory. This is too far down. It needs sculpted gloves, you know. It needs a better paint job, you know. I'll still give it an 8 because it's still one of the better Daredevils out there. You know, Daredevils are reasonably priced on the third-party market. This one right now is on March 2015 is costing about $30. You know, outside of retail stores. So if you buy it from a third-party guy, it's going to cost a plenty. So that's my quick criticism and review. Maybe I'll put some pics up afterwards. We'll find out. You guys stay tuned. Share, subscribe, whatever the heck you guys do, you know. Peace.